Hi, I'm Kelly Kramer.
And I'm Scott Sipker. Welcome to Central Iowa.
And our latest edition of Iowa Outdoors. Coming up on this episode of Iowa Outdoors.
Recreate a piece of Iowa's chilly outdoor history.
Learn about all the care that goes into building Iowa's trails.
Tag along as grade schoolers learn to survive in Iowa winter.
Meet an Iowa photographer who curates photos from across the planet.
And explore a trail in a minute.
We'll have all that and more.
So sit tight. Iowa Outdoors is about to begin.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors is provided by the Claude P. Small, Catherine Small Cousins, and William Carl Cousins Fund at the Lincoln Way Community Foundation in Clinton County to support nature programming on Iowa Public Television.
And by the Alliant Energy Foundation. Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on Iowa Public Television can be found in Iowa Outdoors Magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.
As temperatures drop, only the most intrepid of adventurers remain outdoors. For an example, look no further than this episode.
This journey will take us deep into the Iowa wilderness, teach us how to survive there, and show us one way we can share our love of the outdoors with the whole world.
But first, let's take a trip back in time to an era when reaching for a cool drink required some serious work.
For thousands of years, the only way to get ice was to harvest it and ship it. And up into the 1960s, northeastern Iowa was one of its main exporters.
To celebrate its history, Lansing, Iowa has started holding an ice harvesting demonstration every February to show the current generation all the work that went into getting ice before the advent of the freezer.
When it comes to celebrating a community's heritage, most areas would opt for warmer temperatures and clear skies. But for Lansing, an Iowa town in the farthest northeastern reaches of the state, to properly represent its history, observance must be made at the coldest time of year. So come February, Lansing hosts its annual Winterfest, embracing its frigid legacy with sleigh rides, snowshoe hikes, ice carving, and chili cook-offs. But in recent years, the town has included a piece of area history that has almost been completely forgotten: ice harvesting. From the late 1800s until the mid-1960s, Lansing was a well-known harvester and exporter of block river ice. With the railroad carving right through town, an ample supply of frozen fresh water, come winter, Lansing was an ice harvesting powerhouse.
The ice field got very large. It would be twice the size of a football field, and it was a big production, 3 or 4 trucks hauling steady.
All right, go, 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 go.
You know, it employed a lot of farmers, construction workers, and grocery stores. Each had their own ice crews, and there were several ice houses around town.
7 big ice houses, you know, they would hold several tons of ice.
Oh, many, many tons.
Yeah.
Married more than 50 years, Karen and Gary Galima are 2 of the few remaining connections to this piece of Lansing history.
I got in on the last harvest that they did commercially in the winter of 64, 65. I was a truck driver through here, and her dad ran the local fish market. And so between Christmas and New Year's holidays, there's no fish sales, so her dad asked if I could come over and drive truck for him to haul the ice from the ice field down to the ice house. So I had a little bit of an idea of what we're doing out here. I don't do much work anymore. I just kind of watch and tell them what they're doing wrong, but I let them try it first.
In spirit, the demonstration showcases what went into ice harvesting. On a smaller scale, there's the same tools and basic processes. A grid is plotted on the ice and carved with the sleigh blade and saws. followed by long metal picks breaking ice blocks and loading them onto a truck with tongs or a pole and rope. Unlike an actual harvest that was dangerous, non-stop work, the demonstration is much more about fun. And even a few activities that are decidedly not traditional. While the demonstration is all about smiles and a fun winter activity, for years, ice harvesting was serious work and a means of making a living.
Familiar faces seen in this 1948 crew are Jack Ehrlich, Ben Sweeney, John Protzman.
For generations, this was the only way to get ice. Hordes of men would descend onto the frozen banks of the Mississippi and area lakes to saw, pick, pry, and load up block after block of crystal clear ice.
Almost all the little river towns along here had ice crews.
Yeah.
Harper's Ferry, DeSoto. I remember when we used to ship ice out east, the rail cars weren't refrigerated. And they packed them in river ice because we had a big crusher at the fish market. You'd still have chunks of ice this big, and they would hold on the fish all the way into New York or into Chicago or out to the West Coast.
Each block of ice weighed several hundred pounds.
In its heyday, ice harvesting provided a good income, as well as barns full of ice blocks that would stay frozen year-round for keeping meats and dairy, as well as fishermen's needs. And while today's demonstration looks strenuous, it's nothing compared to what actual ice harvesting demanded.
Before these gas-powered ice saws, we have a horse-drawn ice cutter that the horses would pull across the ice, but you had to make 3 or 4 trips with that because you could only cut about an inch at a time to get deep enough to where you could spud it off. Okay, when you have nice, smooth, frozen ice, 2 people can just pull that saw. They don't really pull it, it will pull itself, drag it to the other end, back and forth all day long.
It was a tough life. It was a hard life, and you learned early on that you had to be hard to survive. It's important that the kids realize what is involved, and there's nothing like first-hand experience.
Like so many skills and trades before it, ice harvesting is an industry that in our modern refrigerated era is commercially impractical. Now the back-breaking, freezing cold work of harvesting has been retired to museum shelves and history books. Still, it's demonstrations like Lansing's Winterfest that helps connect the next generation with its past.
I do a lot of classes that come through the museum, and when we get to the ice box, they'll say, what do they need an ice box for? And you know, it's a simple answer. Well, you know, they didn't always have ice makers in every refrigerator, so that's where it came from. It came from hard work, sacrifice, and it came from the river.
For nature lovers, few things top a good hike. And with over 100 state parks, forests, and preserves, the options are practically boundless.
Come January 1st, the Iowa DNR celebrates these trails with a statewide outing dubbed First Day Hikes. While thousands of hikers turn out, many may not be aware of the amount of work it takes to create and maintain the many trails of Iowa.
Happy New Year! We're one of 26 first day hikes in Iowa and one of over 1,000 nationwide.
Hiking is a thing in Iowa. So much so that when the 2013 State Conservation and Outdoor Recreation Plan was released, the statewide survey discovered Iowans' #1 outdoor activity was walking and hiking.
You want to come and look for a minute? It's kind of fun.
Events such as the DNR's First Day Hikes are a perfect example of Iowans' love for hiking. Amidst sub-freezing temperatures across the state, walkers and hikers of all ages tread through Iowa's state parks to take in the unbridled beauty and learn about our shared environment.
When the owls eat things like mice, they can digest the meat part of it, but they can't digest the hair and the bones. And so that kind of builds up in a little pouch that they have. And when there's enough in there, they regurgitate or kind of throw it up. It gives you a good idea about what that owl's eating, what kind of critters are in this habitat.
Of course, for events like first day hikes to occur, there first must be trails. And if trails are to withstand thousands of hikers, someone needs to make sure they are established with conservation and sustainability in mind.
We're in Bellevue State Park in Bellevue, Iowa at the Dias unit. This trail has been in the process for 4 years and it was just completed this year. A lot of the trails, especially in this park, are 4-foot wide mowed paths, and so this one isn't. It's a 2-foot wide bench that we're hiking on that dips and meanders through the landscape to make it more sustainable so that you don't have to put a lot of time and effort into maintaining it.
While a fount of trail creation knowledge, Pete England also has a genuine love of the outdoors.
We call these the Three Sisters because these are some pretty old, gnarly trees. There's not too many other big oaks in a group like this. I don't know, I think they're pretty cool.
Having worked on trail crews across the country, Pete has helped create and blaze numerous trails. And with each new path comes a new set of objectives.
They go down the creek a little bit, and you can see where they cut with a bulldozer, but then you get up the hillside a little more and then you lose the trail. And so you're in this bottom, but it was never really mowed. So you just take your own path. And again, you have a trail that you can't find, which is the whole reason for this trail that we're on. So you have an accessible trail that you can find, hike, and it's not unsustainable like that one or the duck trail that's over here.
As hikers pass over bridges, around switchbacks, and along rock retaining walls, it may seem like they are encountering simple pieces of trail character. However, the truth is, those elements were specifically designed and implemented pieces of trail engineering.
One of the crew members put this switchback in, so this is made out of cedar, and then the rock was carried in, and it's just a nice switchback where a climbing turn would have been too steep, and so to put in this retaining wall kind of brings the soil up and gives it a more sustainable slope on the trail than just putting it in. Whenever we do these too, we want to put them where there's an anchor that you go around. Otherwise people will cut them.
Yeah, mine is the longest.
So on your next hike, between moments learning about and communing with nature, consider the hard work and passion that went into the more than 8,000 miles of trails our state has to offer.
We say that trail building is people building. You know, we're building trails, but we're also building relationships. And we're offering people an opportunity to go out and experience nature on its own terms.
Surviving the treacheries of nature can be a bewildering task, and all too frequently, one poor decision can be the difference between life and death.
That's why each year during spring break, the Polk County Conservation Board hosts a camp specifically designed to educate grade schoolers on a few outdoor essentials that may one day save their lives.
Good morning. So welcome to Survivor Camp.
Take a moment and think back to when you were 10 years old. Somehow you find yourself lost in the wilderness, all alone. It's the middle of winter, and you have only your wits and a few pieces of equipment to survive. Now the idea is definitely more attractive than the reality, but think of the unique challenges modern society never asks you to tackle. Could you find your way through the woods? Build a shelter? Start a fire? Find water? Well, if you answered no to any or all of those questions, but would still love to learn how to face down Mother Nature's worst, then Survivor Camp is for you.
You know, kids just get excited about learning something new. It was not, hey, I'm going to lead you around through the woods. It was saying, you know, here's your responsibility. Give them a GPS unit and show them how to use it, and they get pretty excited.
And that's putting it rather mildly. For a full day during spring break, the Polk County Conservation Board exposes a couple dozen 10 to 12-year-olds to a handful of new and thrilling outdoor endeavors. Between geocaching, shelter and fire building, and archery, Survivor Camp is a day of discovery and self-reliance.
The experience and the interest in these skills varies greatly. We have some that, have hardly ever even been out of the city, let alone trying to build a fire. And then we have those that are camping and with their families all the time that are very comfortable around, campfires and tromping through the woods and things like that.
They kind of just let us roam free and do our own thing, kind of.
Yeah, we got to do by ourselves instead of having so much help like we usually do. It should be over here.
Self-guided discovery of the outdoors is a big part of Survivor Camp, and doing so in a safe space is what makes it possible.
I see it. Where?
We know that at this age is when you start building those lifelong habits, that lifelong passions too. So if you're getting kids introduced to it now, realizing, hey, it's okay to get muddy. It's not taboo to be doing some of those things. This is the age to get kids really excited about being in the outdoors.
Well, we were just walking and we were looking on the ground for footprints and stuff, and we just saw this weird thing sticking out of it, and it was an antler.
While geocaching can turn up some excellent finds, the following event is always a hit, even if it can be a little frustrating.
Oh, I think anytime a kid has a chance to build a fire, it's pretty exciting for them.
What if you get a fire started?
So we do a lot of safety talk, but that's by far the most popular.
We made a fire.
I think the hardest thing is to just be patient when they're doing this stuff and to just keep trying when the things they try fail.
Jackson Brinker has attended Survivor Camp for 4 years in a row, and while he's older than the other kids, he still loves the experience.
I love being outside and I love doing this stuff, and I'm very outdoorsy, like to hunt and fish and stuff. So my personal favorite is the archery inside. It's pretty fun to do.
Archery is the perfect event to close out the day. It gives kids first-hand experience throwing atlatl spears and letting loose a quiver of arrows.
Fire when ready.
Ultimately, when the camp comes to a close, kids have expanded their outdoor horizons and go home with a lot of good stories to tell.
Well, my favorite activity today was geocaching, since, I really like to just walk through the woods.
Fire when ready.
Archery is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but building a campfire is by far the most important skill here, I think.
Geocaching was fun, but our GPSs were kind of confusing though. Yeah, because they had us going in different directions. As soon as we turned one, they pointed in the other. My favorite activity was archery because I really like shooting bows and arrows. When I get a bullseye is my favorite part of archery, and I feel happy when I get a bullseye.
Survivor Camp may be uncovering new skills for kids to develop, but in truth, the day is about something much simpler.
Our overall idea is that we're getting people excited about being in the outdoors. So getting an appreciation, getting an awareness, getting an enjoyment for being outside, because if you enjoy being outside, then you're going to naturally be learning things about it. And hopefully with that, also want to respect it and to take care of it.
For generations, finding success in photography meant years of practice and refining your skills with different lenses and subjects. But with the rise of social media, some novice photographers have received an unexpected boost in popularity and notoriety.
For one photographer in northeastern Iowa, a single brush of internet virality led him to a role moderating outdoor imagery from across the planet.
Some photographers have lived their whole lives with an unending desire to capture the perfect image. Others stumble into the pursuit after acquiring a camera that they just cannot put down. And at the very end of the spectrum, there are people like Derek Bailey, who grew up in a family steeped in photography, but personally hated having his picture taken. And yet somehow he too eventually fell for the allure of taking pictures.
Well, actually, my mom is quite a bit of a photographer. Growing up, she would shoot weddings and senior portraits for friends and family and others, and a lot of pictures of us family members, and didn't like get my picture taken, so it wasn't something I ever really kind of picked up.
But after starting a family, photography once again creeped into Derek's life. His wife's burgeoning interest in taking family portraits pushed Derek to the internet in research of a right-priced high-end camera, and soon enough,
there's a lot to learn, a lot to take in, and once I kind of felt like I had all this knowledge and picked out the camera we kind of wanted, I wanted to go out and use it. And it's just kind of grown from there. And
with his interest growing, Derek quickly found his niche in photography, somewhere he never anticipated to end up.
It's kind of funny. I got wife wanting to get in to take pictures of the kids, and actually it's something I've just not done a real good job of. But I have kind of found I enjoy the landscape photography. Getting out in Iowa, take a lot of pictures of Iowa.
After falling for landscape photography, it was another family member who actually pushed him to sharing his work online, a move that would ultimately lead to a higher profile and new role.
I got a brother who also actually is kind of into photography. He lives out in Seattle and does real estate photography professionally. And he's the one that kind of suggested, hey, why don't you put your pictures on Instagram and so I can see them. But as I was on it more and more and found communities on Instagram and kind of got involved in some, and my presence on there has kind of grown more.
As Derek continued to post photos of Iowa and tag specific Instagram pages, one particular post gained the attention of a few feature pages who ended up sharing Derek's work with thousands of Instagram users.
I took one morning of a fence post. You know, the lighting wasn't real great, it was kind of dark, but kind of was able to edit in a way that I thought kind of looked good, and I went ahead and posted it. That was this summer, and actually a couple pages, feature pages, picked it up and featured it and got quite a few likes, and so that was kind of interesting to have a picture get, 2,000 or 3,000 likes on it. But
one of the feature pages that shared Derek's fence picture was Country Features, and with his interest piqued, Derek responded to a call for new moderators.
I didn't really understand the whole process real well. I know they'd featured a few of my pictures, and I thought that was pretty neat. But I did reply back to the moderator request and kind of welcome me aboard. So it's really neat to be able to, when you see a picture you like, you select it and then repost it and start seeing, hundreds of people, thousands of people within an hour start liking that photo.
Feature pages like Country Features are common throughout Instagram. Chances are, if you're looking for a particular collection of like photos on the popular social network, there is a feature page waiting for you.
So typically these feature pages, they'll be focused around a certain type of photography. There's black and white, there's landscape features, there's ones that are country related and ocean related, sunsets, anything you can think of, there's usually a feature page. They each have their own hashtag, a dedicated hashtag that you would need to include in the comments on your picture. And then what the moderators do, they'll go look through the pictures each day or period of time, and they'll search for all the photos posted with that hashtag. So if I post a picture on my own personal page, a few hundred people see it. But if a feature page like Country Features were to pick it up and repost it now, there's 50,000 people that get to see it. It's a big deal to these artists. Some of the comments they reply back is pretty neat. They're really appreciative of being able to have their work shared and exposed like that.
Of course, part of the benefit of sharing with a feature page is Instagram users tend to see something they like and then go directly to the source.
50,000 people is a lot of people, but there's kind of a little bit of community there too, and people start recognizing that the same people get posted, and or if they see something they like posted on the Country Features, they tend to go look at that artist page as well, and they'll probably start following you directly, and so it's kind of neat. It really kind of grows. And
if you're wondering what kind of photo Country Features is looking for, think broadly. The criteria for what's considered country is not defined.
We're open to an open interpretation of country. Country can mean anything, any number of things, any number of people. So I believe we got 2 moderators in Australia, one in the UK, one in Canada. We've got several across all time zones in the United States. So you do get a variety. What speaks to me might be different than what speaks to some of the other people. I tend to like the landscapes and the big dramatic skies, and some other moderators tend to like a little more, maybe a smaller setting or more focus on a closer up subject. We got some guys that are big fans of cows. So
while the Country Features audience is international, Derek loves the opportunity to share his home state with the rest of the world.
Moderating for Country Features, I've had the opportunity to sometimes pick up on some Iowa artists. That's always kind of fun to be able to put them out there. A little extra pride when you kind of know it's a homeboy or someone close to you.
So with the world waiting, who should share with feature pages like Country Features? Anyone. That is, anyone who's comfortable with possibly reaching an audience of thousands.
There's no harm in tagging. You might be surprised. We're not looking for professional photos. A lot of them, you can tell, are just iPhone. I think currently there's almost 250,000 photos flagged as with the Country Features hashtag. So, they're not all professional. It's everything. So if you're comfortable with your picture being shared, I'd say go for it.
It's time for IPTV's Trail in a Minute, where we show you a different Iowa hiking, biking, or water trail each episode. It's an opportunity to relive an outdoor experience or to plan a future adventure. And it's a pretty cool way to view the Iowa outdoors. Take a look. The Sunset Trail Ridge overlook in Wabaunsee State Park is an excellent cold weather hike in Iowa's distinctive Less Hills. At roughly 3 miles down and back to the scenic overlook, this interpretive trail offers an up-close look at what makes the Less Hills so unique. With ongoing efforts to manage native prairie grasses, the stone-covered Sunset Trail still invites visitors to learn about the area's many important plants and trees, as well as the famous silt sediment only found in western Iowa's Less Hills and the Huangtu Plateau in China. As you reach the Sunset Ridge overlook, you'll find your first clear view of the Missouri River Valley. If you happen to come at sunset, you'll know why the trail got its name. If you're ready to turn back, consider searching for the hidden wildlife shelters along the trail. But if you're to continue down the path, you're in for a long, awesome hike. The Sunset Trail Ridge in Wabaunsee State Park, a Less Hills experience that is hard to top, and definitely worth more than a few minutes, or perhaps hours, of your time.
That wraps up this edition of Iowa Outdoors. We encourage you to get outside and enjoy Iowa's parks and recreational opportunities. If you're planning any outdoors travel, check out our extensive video archive of adventures at iptv.org/Iowa Outdoors.
While episodes continue to bring you outdoor adventures over the Iowa airwaves, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for extended features and extra content. And be sure to tag Iowa Outdoors in your online posts. Who knows, you might even make it onto the show. We'll leave you now with some more images of Iowa's outdoor environment.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors is provided by the Claude P. Small, Catherine Small Cousins, and William Carl Cousins Fund at the Lincoln Way Community Foundation in Clinton County to support nature programming on Iowa Public Television.
And by the Alliant Energy Foundation. Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on Iowa Public Television can be found in Iowa Outdoors Magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.